games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you, and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.
Biddly, 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 but yes, yeah. Ain't nobody down around here. You know what time it is. We've got 2 cats in the room, so there's a bit of carnage going on because we've had to shut the door because Lockie can't handle it. His OCD kicks in if the door's open, but then the cats get a little bit ratty. They want to be in here relentlessly. I'm spending more time in house nowadays with the new job. So I've shut the door and now they want to get out. It's shit is a shit. That's not why we're here. Ain't nobody down around here. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. We had to move back to get his greatness in. We've got Ming's classic T-shirt on the Get the Badger in and on and over here T-shirt. Shout out to Ming. He didn't get a shout out the other day. It was a complete and utter accident, so I do apologise. We've made a leap of faith, guys, so there will be more videos. I am switching my lifestyle up a little bit. So if you could support the channel, it'd be much appreciated on the basis that I need some moral support, and I feel like you guys are my friends. So we've made a leap of faith and we're onto pastures new. If you could smash a like, subscribe to the channel, it really does help. Want to do shout out to John LUFC Garside, another shout out for Ming, Pete Booth, Blind Stag Astro, Legendary MVG, Southie, Mick the Crocodile Dundee, Sean Rooney, and Render LUFC, Mark Bradley, and Arse Ripper. That is a hell of a lot of shout outs, but the lives was going crazy with you guys the other day. So we're not even during the quick shit vids on the lives. So I appreciate every which one of you. I'm well aware that the clock watchers are in, but there'll be more videos. So the clock watchers are just going to have to get used to it. We are fully committed to some clout chasery now. Video de Marida Rapida, a quick shit vid. That's what we're here to talk about. Is it time to panic at Leeds United? Now, obviously, we had another quiet day yesterday. We was obviously hopeful that there'd be some sort of more transfer rumours. There's players that pop up into media all the time, and there was yesterday, but you know, it's all just winding it out. We're not really hearing much from the club. Even the reporters close to the club are not really speaking much. And, you know, they're dragging out Joseph's stories and all sorts of stuff out, ways that he can get back into the side, which we'll potentially do a video on later on, I think. I'm going to do a video later on my normal rumour video. Maybe talk about Joseph, if there is a way back into the side for him, if you believe there is or not. And then I might do a cheeky live as well a bit later on, about 8 o'clock or something. I'm not too sure. But personally, as you well know by now, if you've been here before, you know by now that we're not panicking over here. We've got 2 weeks before, well, now 13 days before the start of the season. If we was in this position, if you could have told me we'd be in this position where we signed, you know, be all Longstaff and just stack, never mind, you know, getting Goodmanson at left back and stuff, I'd already be quite positive about it. Obviously, when it does go to a bit of a stalemate, it's a panic. I think the problem that we've got is we all thought we were getting Paxo's stuff in, and we thought that'd take us on to, like, you know, 10 out of 10 transfer window. And then, you know, all we've got to do is find a 9 and a backup right back or whatever. And obviously that hasn't happened. So it stumped us a little bit. And then players come up for... The thing is, we're after this top tier player, aren't we? There's a cat entering there, Bambi. We're after a top tier winger, aren't we? So, you know, other clubs do come flying in, like Paxo stuff in. Obviously Marseille came in and sort of hijacked that a little bit. They're pushing themselves out among other clubs out there, so we're always going to be available for these players, out we? So the agents are getting involved, and you know, even the selling team, if they know he's no interest in really going to Leeds, they can milk that a little bit, can't they? And then when get an extra out of Marseille or whatever, if you just want, do you know what I mean? If they want to go to them other clubs, they will use us as a pawn, really, and as a backup, because we are a backup to their decision. The worst case scenario for Paxo stuff in this year was he came to Leeds United, wasn't it? If he really does want to get out of the club or move on, you know, come to play Premier League football and stuff. And it is a risk for him ultimately. I think it's a no-brainer coming to join Leeds in Premier League over going to Marseille. I truly do, but I can understand why he wouldn't feel that way. You know, Champions League football. We're going to have it a lot. We're going to have it with this Bilal Kudusen guy. You know, everybody's coming in for him. Or more and more clubs are getting mentioned now because Leicester are obviously willing to sell him and he wanted to go. So whether or not we could get him, I think that'd be a really exciting signing. We were discussing outgoings last night on Just Joe's show. Go check Just Joe's show out in general, as I'm sure you all do anyway. But on how we've not really shown any signs of losing anybody. So, and I think it's because we're not in a rush. We do have 4 weeks to get rid of these players. We've heard about Joffrey potentially going to Rangers. Well, apparently, you know, that's not been cemented in, but apparently Geldart's also wanted by Hull again. Obviously, he played actually quite decent for him. I think he played about 19, 20 times for him last season when he got his loan move. He scored 5 goals, scored some pretty good goals, got him some pretty big results, to be honest. He's a good player, he's Joffrey, and I do like him. I do think that the Rangers move would be a much better move for him, because I just think it's an easier league. They're a top team in an easier league, aren't they? Rather than getting stuck in with Hull in a extremely difficult league. But yeah, I just don't think we're in a rush to get players out the door. That's what I'm saying about Joseph, whether or not we're just sort of holding out on that. I don't think Farker and the board will really mind if he ends up just wasting his time in under 21s and tries to find a way back into the squad. I don't really think, I think Bamford's a weird one on the basis that we put him in under 21s because he probably wants to go out and get first team football, doesn't he? But as I've said before, if you sit him on the bench in the Premier League, he will do that. He will sit there all season, won't he, and try and just get any Premier League minutes, because it's obviously as good as it's going to get for him for the rest of his career. He's ending his career in the Premier League. So if you put him in the under 21s, it sort of forces his hand a little bit as well to try and get out the club and look for a move himself, rather than the club trying to push him out. It's an effective way of pushing him out. I mean, he still showed great professionalism, which I think Joseph could learn from. But yeah, I just don't think we're in a rush to get rid of these players. Obviously, Bamford's on a big wage, so you'd want that off the books, but it depends what they've planned for. There's that much money floating about and getting sent about all over the shop. 70 grand a week in the grand scheme of things, granted, if you're not using him, but if you're sat on the bench anyway, Farker won't be using him. So there's goal bonuses and game bonuses and, appearance bonuses and all the rest of it. So, I think it's whatever's best for the team is what the 49ers will do. I don't think, if they can't get Bamford out, they can't get back. You're not going to have to play him, for instance. And it's same with Joseph. It's just like, look, he'll be on peanuts in grand scheme of things. We've got him for a few more years. He'll have to sort his attitude out, have to sort himself out, report back for training, and then they'll see how much they can get for him. Because they're not just going to let him go for 5 million. Because I thought it'd be a quick change round when we got told that he wasn't reporting back for training and stuff. So I thought it'd be like, right, well, they'll just get him out 5-8 million at just whatever anybody comes in for, but they're not willing to do that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So what are your thoughts on the outgoings, as well as obviously the lack of incomings currently, even though I do think we'll ramp it up this week? Longstaff's gone on X and said about that he's, and I quote, "Great to get my first game at Ellen Road. The hard work continues." There's been a lot said about some players' performances against Villarreal after the other day, and I actually don't know what I'm seeing at this point, because I think the only player, it has to be said, was Schmidt. And people are saying that he was tossing it off, and I don't necessarily think he was tossing it off or throwing it in or turning it in. He hadn't had much game time. His touch looked off, and he got his touch looked off, and he got chopped up very regular. It wasn't a good performance from him, but I'm sure nobody will know that more than him. And Farker did go a bit crazy with him at points at side at pitch, but that for me was the only poor performance. I mean, I've been reading Longstaff criticism. He lost the ball once in possession. Obviously, you have to be in possession to lose the ball, but he got caught out. Somebody came up behind him and slid in. He didn't know he had a man on, basically. And then there was a ball forward. I think Metcher had set off. There was a ball to be played forward, and he lost the ball. It was a poor pass, but he's also just getting his way, making his way into the side and stuff. We are getting used to each other at this point. Goodmanson has been getting criticism. I thought Goodmanson were good. I think he looks like a proper solid left back. And when he sets off going forward, because there was a narrative that he's not a forward-thinking footballer, and because we've had Firpo, we've been blessed with Firpo flying forward, but gets criticised for his defensive work. Whereas Goodmanson, I feel like we've potentially got a little bit of both, where he's not as good as Firpo going forward, but I think Firpo's honestly a Donny when he's going forward. But Goodmanson looks better defensively. So, I mean, I'm sure he can still get, if you put it on him. But we spoke loads about wing-backs. None of them can defend. Obviously, you get the Farker critics. I can't get my head around it. He picked a side, and a competitive side, in truth. It was a decent enough game. I know people say we lacked quality and going forward, and we didn't look like we could break the sides down, no creativity. But he came out after the game and actually applied pressure to the board, didn't he? And I love the way he goes about things, to be honest, the way he speaks. I also think he's calling the board out, saying we need some more attacking footballers, saying that we've done well, but we've not going forward. We're not in Premier League level. Now, he mentioned Solomon and suggested that we've got rid of Solomon and we haven't replaced him. Now, if you're a current player, you'd be fuming with that, wouldn't you? So I actually think not only is it a call out to the board to get me some decent wingers in, some forwards in, it's also a call out to the players that you currently have on board, don't you? So it's, what are you doing? If you're Nonto or Ramazani, and obviously James didn't feature at the weekend, but that's a call out to you, like going, are you going to go make your claim because you want to be a Premier League footballer or not? Because he's basically saying that we're not good enough going forward. So that's a call out to all of them. Mecha, Peru, James, Ramazani, Nonto. It's like, go get your place. He's calling them out. I mean, I'd take Solomon back. I was talking to Joe, actually, funnily enough, about this, but Solomon is, I don't think, the top tier of winger that we're currently looking at. And I think Solomon is a bit of a backup for us. So I think we'll end up with Solomon. God forbid we end up with Harrison, because if he gets any game time against Everton, there'll be the fan base will go into meltdown. But what are your thoughts? Genuinely, I think he's calling out the players a little bit. I think he's really effective at that. He's good. I thought Ramazani were probably the brightest spark when he came on, to be fair. It looked like he were up for it, and he was chucking himself about a little bit. They'll all be up for this ride, won't they? And they will not want to hear that Solomon's gone and we can't replace him. We haven't got the replacements of him. Be interesting to see what goes on. There will be outgoings. I just don't think we're in any rush. I think what potentially may happen is once we get a bid accepted, if we do go for a £30 million player, she's in bag now, £30 million player, that's when we'll then see some players going out, so they'll have to move some money about. But at the moment, I think they can go ahead and get a £30 million player without sort of forcing anybody's hand, forcing anybody out of the club. But yeah, it's all positive for me at the moment. Obviously, we still got work to do, still need to get stuff done, but I think we will do. So I'm just sort of waiting it out, see what happens today, see what happens tomorrow, before we go into friendly again at the weekend. And as much as it'd be great to get them in, obviously before the Everton game, it's not the worst thing to have ever happened. We need to be competitive against Everton, even with this current squad. I know one player makes a difference. I know if you sign a Rafinha, it can get you the win against Everton and it gets you the 1-0 and all that stuff. I'm aware how much big players and talented footballers change games in individual moments. But other than that, we need to be super compact and competitive in general everywhere else on the pitch. And currently, the midfield looks brilliant to me. Stack, Ampadu, Longstaff, Tanaka, Gruev is a brilliant five that we've got in there that we can use. I think Biol looks good. I know he can't start against Everton, which is a shame. But realistically, people 2 years ago wanted Pascal and Rodon anyway. So I know people have now gone off Struik a little bit. But we're rambling a little bit. So yeah, I'll drop back in for a quick shit vid at about 6 o'clock like I normally do, guys. And then I might go live about 8 o'clock. We'll see how we get on. If you could support the videos, it'd be really appreciated, guys. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell 10 men. And then, it never stops, does it? Take it easy, everybody. Like, subscribe. Much love in a bizzle. Use.
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.